Welcome to Gleaning Mustard Seeds with Jerrie Barber. Mr. Barber is a preacher, a ventriloquist, a barefoot runner, and writes 2 blogs. When Jerrie communicates, he encourages people, try not to learn very much. Find a mustard seed. In the next few minutes, try not to learn very much. Look for something you can do to move a mountain, remove a stumbling block, or provide a stepping stone for yourself or someone else. And now, here's Jerrie with this week's mustard seed.
My first full-time work preaching was in 1967 after I graduated from David Lipscomb College. The church where I went had never had a full-time preacher. We made very few agreements. The only agreement I remember is that they would pay me $100 a week, and I would rent a house and pay my utilities. We'd been there about 9 months. Christmas was coming, and I asked the elders if we could be gone for a week to visit relatives. They gladly agreed. The Sunday before our vacation, one of the elders presented me with an envelope of money people had donated for my Christmas present. Gail asked me what I was going to do with my $30. I told her I'd like to buy a pair of Sunday shoes. The ones I had were worn out, not worth repairing. There were holes in the soles of my shoes, and every time it rained, my feet got wet. Gail asked, "How will we make the car payment?" I answered, "It's in the budget. We never had a problem with that." She said, "They won't pay us for the week we're gone." I said, "Everybody knows you get a week or 2 off with pay." She said, "They won't pay us." She was right. After a few weeks with no check for the week we were gone, I asked the elders about their policy on paid vacations for a preacher. They said, "We've never had a preacher and we don't have a policy." After a brief discussion, one of the elders said, "He didn't do nothing, so don't give him nothing." The rest quickly agreed. Another elder asked, "You need to borrow some money?" I said, "No, I don't need to borrow money, but if I'm not paid, I'll need to plan the next time I'm going to be off for a week." What did I learn from that? That those items need to be discussed before beginning a new work. I'd never addressed financial arrangements when working with the congregation. In my last 2 years of high school, I preached for 3 churches, 1 Sunday a month. I took what they gave me, and I appreciated it. When I talked with the first church, where I preached every Sunday while still in school, they asked, "How much money do you need?" My answer, "I've never talked about money, and I'm not going to start today." When I went to the next church, the elders had worked with several full-time preachers before me. They told me about their previous arrangements. Part of your compensation will be for you to live in our preacher's house, rent-free. You will pay the utilities. We will give you 4 weeks off with pay to preach in meetings. We will give you 2 weeks vacation with pay. We will pay your expenses for 1 lectureship. If you decide to leave, or if we ask you to go, we'll pay you up to 90 days or until you find a new work. They stated my salary. It was 50% more than what I made at the last church, plus I didn't have to pay rent. I was impressed with their liberality and thoughtfulness. After 8 years in that location, I was looking for another place to preach. One night in a meeting with the men, a brother asked, "Are we paying Jerrie every Sunday? He's running all over the country to look for a new job." The treasurer answered, "Yes, we're paying him every week." The man asked me, "Jerrie, why do we do that?" I answered, "When I came, the elders told me that when I left, they would pay me for 90 days or until I found a new place to preach." 2 of the 3 elders had died while I'd been there. The other elder had resigned, but he was in the meeting. The brother asked him, "Brother Jones, what about that?" The former elder rubbed his chin and said, Seemed like we talked about that, but I don't remember exactly what we said. That was embarrassing. My observation: people who receive money have a better memory of agreements than people who pay the money. Thankfully, the treasurer had been there for decades. He said, "Brethren, we followed that policy of a 90-day severance with every preacher we've had, and we will do it with Jerrie." The man who asked the question said, "That's okay. I just wanted to know what the policy was." What did I learn from that? Agreements not only need to be made in detail, but they also need to be written. Why do we need to do that if we're all Christian? I need to record what I promised to do because my forgettery works better than my memory. Written agreements are not made to make dishonest people honest. Contracts are for honest people who forget what they promised. If they aren't written, both sides will doubt whether the other is doing the right thing because both remember it differently. In future episodes, I plan to discuss agreements with children, people who stay in our home for an extended time, preacher-church agreements, and eldership agreements. I will discuss further why agreements need to be written. A family, church, or business budget is a written agreement to spend our money in a predetermined way. We don't have to argue. We don't have to ask, "Why are you spending so much on that?" If we need more money in one area, we mutually decide what to take from other categories to make up the deficit in the area where we want to spend more. A written agreement is an excellent way to settle conflict before we have conflict. We settle possible disagreements before we have any disagreements. Written agreements are not to make dishonest people honest. Contracts are for honest people who forget what they promise.
Thank you for listening to Gleaning Mustard Seeds with Jerrie Barber. If you found a mustard seed, send a text or email with a link to a friend. This podcast was brought to you by Braden Parsons Photography. From family photos to landscape photography and everything in between, Braden uses his passion for capturing meaningful moments to create art and embody memories that will be cherished for a lifetime. Whether you want photos for your family, an event, or even want to browse Braden's portfolio for prints you can buy as art for your home or office, go to bradenparsons.com to explore the creativity and inspiration that comes from Braden Parsons Photography. You can also contact Braden directly at bradencparsons@gmail.com to discuss how to turn your photography needs into your most adored keepsakes. There are links in the show notes to connect with Braden. Thank you for listening. Jerrie looks forward to next week as we continue to collect and plant mustard seeds.